Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of the Anime Banter podcast with your hosts, Turtle, Sean, and Mike. Thank you for joining us today. How are y'all doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about yourselves?
Yeah, not bad.
Our podcast can legally drink.
Woohoo! 21, baby!
An important milestone.
21 with plenty of episodes to go.
Absolutely.
Tell your friends if you haven't.
That's right. Spread the good word of us, the Anime Banter podcast.
Please.
And if we're doing something you don't like, email us. animebanterpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear some feedback from everyone.
Yeah, let us know if there's anything you want us to do or talk about, anything we can tweak or change. We're always striving to improve.
Hit us on social media.
So, Sean, Turtle and I were in your old stomping grounds recently.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, him and I went to the Alter Bridge show out at your old college stomping grounds at Johnstown, PA.
Oh, gosh. Those stomping grounds.
Those stomping grounds.
Yeah, I was like, well, you guys live close to where I grew up, and I spent 2 years at the University of Pittsburgh, Maine. But, those stomping grounds,
Those
yes.
stomping grounds. But, yeah, so Alter Bridge, Seven Dust, and Mammoth WVH came to the First Summit Arena where the Johnstown Chiefs play. And talk about an interesting part of Johnstown. Like, Johnstown's a small town, but downtown Johnstown felt like a damn ghost town.
Yeah, it was really weird because it was a Sunday, which is kind of a weird day for a concert, a Sunday. But I've never been to Johnstown before, and it was very quiet.
I've been to Johnstown. My in-laws live out that towards that way. Not quite in Johnstown, but around there. And we used to go to a bar out in Johnstown, and the bar was great, but it's been years since I've been to Johnstown proper. But yeah, it was like we parked right by the arena for like $10, and there was a brewery within like a half a mile where we parked. So we ended up going there to get a bite to eat and a beer beforehand. And we were walking, and there was just like nothing. Like, you would see a person walking every once in a while, but otherwise it was dead. It was pretty cool to walk by America's oldest record store, though.
Yeah, that was a pretty neat find.
Really? America's, how old is it?
It was closed, so we couldn't go in to
Oh,
find out
well,
any.
never mind.
Yeah.
The one cool thing so we were walking towards the brewery, and all of a sudden we just start hearing some music playing. Turns out that there's like a park in downtown Johnstown, and they must just have random local musicians come and play every day or once every couple of days, because Turtle pointed out to me that the no smoking signs said no smoking, young musicians at play.
Yeah, they had this nice little park, and there was a little jazz band just playing under the gazebo, and I'm like, is this like an every week thing, or because it's really cool. So I mean, I don't know of other places that do anything like that.
Yeah, it was really neat. Like, they had like a little jazz band almost going, and like people were sitting around. I don't know if they were like selling alcohol or like food or anything, but people were just sort of sitting around jamming. Looked like they might at one point had some games for like kids to play. Like, they had like these balloons on a board that kids must have been like throwing darts at that had like paint in them. But it was really neat. And to go back to the record store, it's called George's Song Shop, and it first opened in 1932.
Oh my goodness.
That's old.
Yeah, but would have been cool to check it out. But with it seems like everything there is closed on a Sunday. The brewery we went to is called Stonebridge Brewing. The food was pretty good. Turtle and I shared these pretzel sticks as an appetizer, and they were almost like it felt like they were dusted with whatever you put on like breadsticks.
Yeah, it had a real good seasoning to them. It was
And,
delicious, and the beer cheese. Oh my
oh yeah,
goodness.
I was gonna say that beer cheese was legit.
Oh, very good.
And then I got the Cuban with fries, and the fries were fantastic. The Cuban was also great, but I'm a critic on fries. Like, if the French fries aren't good, like they were seasoned well, everything tasted really good with the fries.
And I got myself just some chicken tenders off the app menu. I didn't want anything real crazy. However, their ranch was excellent.
That ranch was fantastic.
Really good
Restaurant
ranch.
ranch, like not the stuff out of a bottle. It's made so differently. Same with like restaurant mayonnaise. Like restaurant mayonnaise compared to like out of the bottle mayonnaise, like your Hellman's or like I don't know, Miracle Whip type of mayonnaise. It really makes a big difference. Like this stuff is really good.
Unfortunately, by the time we sat down, got our beer, ate, I think we only heard and got to the venue, got our merch and everything. I think we only heard two songs from Mammoth. I want to say maybe
Um,
three.
I'll say I think it was like 3 or 4. We definitely
Okay,
missed a little bit of them. Mammoth I thought was really good. I'll be honest, I went to this concert for Alter Bridge. I've been a fan of Creed since Creed was a thing, and I've been a fan of Alter Bridge since, Creed got Miles to sing and became Alter Bridge. Because for those who don't know, Alter Bridge is basically the band of Creed, but with Miles Kennedy on vocals.
Oh yeah, the thing everyone hated about Creed was always the vocalist.
I mean that hurts my feelings because I think Scott Stapp is a decent singer, but he had some problems.
Miles is just head and shoulders above Scott, though.
Miles is just amazing. He's a really great vocalist, a great songwriter, great guitar player.
It is always funny telling people, "Oh, Ultra Bridge is just Creed without Scott Stapp," and they're all like, "Oh, so more Christian rock and not that heavy, and they suck." And it's like, no, the complete opposite. Like heavy, amazing. I mean, I'm a Creed fan too, so but if you were to say, hey, you only get one, like you could have a Creed reunion or Alter Bridge puts out a new album and tours your city next year, I'm picking Alter Bridge.
I'm a Creed fan. I would agree with you. I would pick Alter Bridge. It's a totally different sound, despite it being virtually the same band. Um, but I went to the show for Alter Bridge. I knew Mammoth existed. I hadn't really heard them before, and Seven Dust I knew even less of. I heard the name, but I'd never really heard any of their songs. Mammoth I thought was really good. I can definitely see myself listening to them more in the future. They have 2 albums out right now.
And for those that don't know, Mammoth is actually Eddie Van Halen's kids' band,
Yeah,
Wolfgang.
Wolfgang Van Halen. He plays guitar, he sings, and they were good. To check them out. I gotta give them props.
It was hard for me to give a full evaluation of Mammoth just because, unlike Turtle, I wear earplugs to concerts.
Yeah, no earplugs for me. I need the full sound in my brain.
And where we were sitting at the time, we were pretty close to a speaker, so I felt like all I could hear with my earplugs in was like the bass. It was hard for me to hear Wolfgang singing. I heard like the bass and the drums more than anything.
I got it all, man.
And it was the same way with Seven Dust. And I have no idea how the hell your ears weren't ringing for like 3 days, because when Seven Dust started playing, I felt the bass in my chest and reverberating in my ass.
It was awesome, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
but
love
probably
that.
not great for your ears.
Well, I can still hear, so I'm all right. Yeah, I don't do earplugs or anything. I like to hear the full sound. Yeah, I mean, Seven Dust was really good as well because, like I said, mentioned, I have no exposure to them before this concert, so I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, they were really hard. Honestly, it felt like there were more Seven Dust fans there than there were Ultra Bridge fans. And it almost felt like after Seven Dust played, a lot of people left.
There were a lot of Seven Dust T-shirts when we were going in, just everywhere. So I mean, they've been around longer. They've been together. Looks like since '94. So I mean, they're an older group and it's still going. So good for them. But yeah, they're a little bit harder vocally, musically. It's a little bit heavier, but I like them. I think they did a great job, and they sounded good as a whole for a live setting, which sometimes is hard to do for bands. They'll sound great on the recording, and then you hear them live, and they're not the same. These guys sounded really good.
I also really liked their lead singer because, like, between every song, like, he announced, like, what song they were playing. He, like, gave some background on it. he tried getting the crowd into it for those that didn't know his band. Like he's like, get up and dance, wave your arms. Like he was trying to get the crowd interaction. Where like with Alter Bridge, they didn't even really address the crowd until like after the fourth song. It felt like.
Yeah, it was almost in between every track where they just took a pause and Seven Dust lead singer was just sort of talking to us briefly before doing the next track. So I thought that was cool.
Alter Bridge, I've been waiting since they formed in 2004, and I've been waiting 19 years for them to come around to see in concert, and I would absolutely see them again.
Isn't that crazy? 19 years, dude.
I can't believe it.
I remember when they first came out buying their first CD.
Same. I remember whenever they first formed and Edge started using Metalingus for his theme song in WWE. I'm like, oh shit, it's Alter Bridge.
That's awesome.
By the way, another WWE connection. You guys are mentioning Seven Dust. I know at least one of their songs was in one of the SmackDown versus Raw games, like
Ah,
like maybe 2007 or 2008, maybe. And that was my first exposure to them, and I like the song that's in there. I think it's called Savior.
okay. I don't know if they played that. I'll have to look into that.
And there's now another Alter Bridge song in WWE, The Other Side for the Judgment Day.
Ah,
When they come out
Oh
as a group,
crap!
they use The Other Side as an entrance song.
Crap! I gotta check that out.
yes. To all the listeners, if you're a fan of rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and you have not heard Alter Bridge, please do yourself a favor and go listen to any one of their songs. You will not be disappointed.
They have such a wide range. Like they can hit you right in your face with hard rock, and then they can slow it down and just like drop you to your knees with an acoustic like song that's like just chill.
And even like in the concert, they did two acoustic numbers back to back, and they're just absolutely beautiful songs. Really, really beautiful. You know, Miles did the first one on his own, just playing acoustic guitar, and he sang it. And the second one, Mark Tremonti came out and did guitar, and Miles sang. And that was the song that Mark wrote for his mother when she passed away. Absolutely beautiful song.
It was hard not to get emotional whenever both songs were played.
Absolutely.
And then it was really cool because they played Burn It Down and they actually had Tremonti sing it.
That threw me for a loop because Tremonti has his own solo band and he guitars and sings for his band. And he sung a few tracks for Alter Bridge, but he didn't sing Burn It Down on the album. So it was kind of different to hear him sing that song.
And when they played Metalingus, I was like, oh man, it'd be so cool if Edge came out, just like showed up on stage, threw the double devil horns out, and said, okay, see you later.
That was it. He's touring with them just to make his guest appearance and walk on and off the stage.
Yeah, but it's really hard
Overall,
not to associate that song with Edge, though. Like if you're a wrestling
oh,
fan and you hear that song, you're like, "Where's Edge?"
I mean, when they started playing, I wanted to shout, "You think you know me?"
That's the right. That's the right way. Wait, did the song not start that way?
No,
It should start that way though. They should
I
say,
know.
"You think you know me?" And then like, duh, 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 like crap. That's how it should go.
On this day. But it was a 14 song set list. Two songs were encores. Once we moved to the middle of the floor for Alter Bridge, I was able to hear much better with my earplugs in. So I think the first two bands I was hearing way too much from the speaker system.
Yeah. Yeah, we when we got to the middle of the floor, you know, you're getting a balanced sound from each side coming at you as opposed to just, you know, in front of the one speaker on the one side, you're just getting pelted by that sound.
Right.
It was interesting. So the show did not come anywhere close to selling out, unfortunately. And when Turtle and I bought these tickets, we're like, okay, let's buy the section looking straight on at the stage and let's buy the first row. So if we want to sit the entire time, we can and not have to worry about people standing in front of us and not being able to see. If we want to stand and then sit, we can do whatever. And we got to our seats and there were people in our seats and they're like, oh yeah, they said we can just sit wherever and stand wherever. Like they opened the floor up to everyone. So we're like, okay, well, we'll sit on the side for the first two bands, and then for Ultra Bridge, we went down to the floor. But that isn't. I know they just redid that arena, but what an old building.
Yeah, it was. I'm used to what do they call it now? PPG paints.
Yeah.
I call it Console Energy Center. I've been in there a few times, and that's it's big, it's new, it's beautiful, and that place was just small and old, and it was cool. Don't get me wrong, but it was just a very different kind of vibe.
Now, to be fair, have you ever seen the movie Slapshot?
I have not because I don't watch a lot of movies.
I've seen parts.
I saw the movie, and the Johnstown Chiefs are the main team from that movie.
Ah,
Yeah, so there's a whole famous hockey movie made about the Johnstown Chiefs. And when I went to Pitt Johnstown, the problem with the campus is that it's outside of the city of Johnstown. So it's in the suburbs in a borough or township called Richland. So I never actually I got down into town one time to get my passport photo taken at the post office. Like that was the one time I went into Johnstown. But I wish I had been. I don't know. We always were kind of honestly a little scared of Johnstown, like to go down there because I don't know. We'd heard not great things about the city itself, and
Yeah.
like going down into the city. So we just kind of, you know, uh, just kind of avoided it. But that's
Yeah. I was
okay. Why go into the city when you can walk to Walmart for fun because it's the only thing to do.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife about like the area and how it felt like a dead zone that night. And she's like, "Oh yeah, they have a lot of gun violence in Johnstown." I'm like, "Really? There's like 3,000 people that live there."
wow.
Yeah,
I don't know
apparently
the exact population of Johnstown,
it's
but
declined pretty harshly for a number of reasons. Number one, obviously, when the Johnstown floods happened, a lot of people left the city. Number two, when the steel mills went down, big industry town, like so Pittsburgh was also the same, kind of similar to Johnstown, bigger city, but similar. Like we're both industry towns, and whenever the industry closed, Pittsburgh had population was cut in half, right? And only recently has it kind of like climbed back up to what it was before, like the industry collapse. At the same time, Johnstown, like Pitt, found industry in like healthcare and banking and utilities and other services. But Johnstown never found that footing again. So the population was cut in half or more, and then it just kind of never like recovered. So like I don't know, it's kind of weird. I haven't spent enough time in the city to know if it's actually a bad place to live. I know people with extended family out there who sometimes they say, yeah, it's not bad out there, to sometimes like, yeah, I would never move back. So I don't know. If you're
I
from
just
Johnstown, let us know what you think.
I just looked. There are 17,977 people residing in Johnstown, and even the lead singer of Seven Dust is like, "Yeah, I looked up the population beforehand. It looks like half of you are here, or you all travel from out of town."
That was pretty funny.
Yeah, how many were at the concert? What do you think? A few thousand?
Maybe 1,000.
Yeah, maybe
A
a
few
hard
hundred
maybe.
then. Yeah.
It was small. That's I was shocked because Mike, you had said that like, oh, there's available tickets for like every section, and I was like, oh, that makes me think like the band's, oh, we're not selling tickets, we're never coming back to Pittsburgh area again. But yeah, I mean, they seemed like they were cool. They, all three bands seemed like they had a good time. They were vibing off of us, and hopefully they'll come back in the area at least closer to Pittsburgh. I would hope for, but
Either closer to Pittsburgh, or if they go to Johnstown, have it not be on a Sunday night.
yeah, I
I
was
mean, to be
pretty
fair,
rough Monday morning.
you ever go to downtown Pittsburgh sometimes on a Sunday night?
That's true.
Yeah, it's like a dead zone down there sometimes too.
That's true. Shall we jump into some Vinland Saga?
Let's do it.
I'm ready to rock.
Today, we are talking about episodes 11 and 12 of Vinland Saga Season 1. Episode 11, A Gamble. I love how the episode starts, and Thorkel's just laying in the cart while everyone else is walking.
He's just taking a nap. He's got to rest up.
It's like, hold on. this whole thing is like your idea. You're the one who keeps wanting to fight. Like, y'all could have went home, and it's like, no, we need to keep fighting. He's also the biggest guy. He probably doesn't need to take very many strides to cover much distance.
Yeah, but you see, Thorkel's more competent at fighting than like the 6 guys it takes to carry him. So like, they just say he's kind of worth more than them on his own.
Well, I mean, last episode he was chucking all them boulders. He's got to be tired. He needs a break.
He also lost 2 fingers, blood loss. Well, you see that squirting out of his hand?
I just figured that was like his gym warm up. All right, I'm going to toss these 50 boulders and then go rip out some trees from the ground and bench press them. Maybe do some squats with them. I don't know.
Run around the country a couple times.
Cross the ocean swimming.
I believe he could do it.
The One Punch Man workout. You guys know the One Punch Man workout.
Oh yeah.
100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, and running 10 kilometers in a day. Surely that would make you strong as Saitama.
Except he doesn't have to worry about not having air conditioning, and he gets to keep his bitchin' hair.
Also true, yeah.
So it sounds like Thorkel's old Normandy crew joined him when he started fighting for the English, because they were talking about how, like, what they thought of the English women and how modest the Christian women were, and we got some horny looking scenes for a second or two, which felt very out of place for this show.
It's not really anime if you don't have a couple horny scenes, am I right?
Yeah, if they put
True.
fan service in, the show's done a really good job of avoiding fan service. They're like, listen, you're here because you like dark Viking drama, not because of the women.
I mean, we're talking about Vikings though, and they like to pillage and
Do other things.
do other things of pillaging type nature. So I mean, that has to come up at some point, right?
They've done a pretty good job of avoiding it so far. I think they want
Yeah,
us to make the Vikings likable.
Yeah.
But
and they even had like the sexy music and everything to like the women, like the sexy fantasy scenes. It just felt very out of left field all of a sudden.
Yeah. Hold up, though. I want to go back to the other point though, right? Like, so we're supposed to like these guys, right? Like Bjorn, and maybe we think things about Askeladd, but they've definitely committed like war crimes and atrocities, right? Like
Without a doubt.
horrible things, right? Like
Without a doubt.
like these villages they burned. Man, they're like killing like children and stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I understand we're supposed to like some of these characters, but I'm pretty sure they've all done horrible things.
Absolutely. And the show's just going to gloss over that like it never happened.
I mean, I feel like we've seen some of these horrible things.
Yeah, I can give Thorfinn a little bit of a pass because he's really young and kind of being taken advantage of here. So, like, I'll give Thorfinn something of a pass. He's at least done one part of pillaging and not another part of pillaging, probably, based on what we've seen. So, Thorfinn gets a pass, but Askeladd and his men, like I said, I like Bjorn, but let's face it, he has also probably committed many, many atrocities.
I mean, are you even a Viking if you haven't?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that if that's just part of your culture, then, well, I guess in their culture, they're not bad guys.
Just because Zangief is a bad guy doesn't mean Zangief is a bad guy.
I was thinking, I'm a bad guy, duh. Do 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 do. Billie Eilish. You guys like Billie Eyelash?
Hey yo.
Billie Eilish.
To quote one Scott Hall, hey yo, the ultimate bad guy.
All right, sorry guys. We could move on. I needed to talk about Viking atrocities. Okay, it was just on my mind.
So it's interesting during this walk, Thorkel and his men are laughing about how weak Jesus looked, like on the cross and like the statues they saw of him, and they're like, "How weak is his sorcery? He just multiplies bread." They're like, Odin and Thor would crush him, and they have great sorcery, and Jesus would never stand a chance to him. And they're just like laughing, and they're like, "All right, Prince Canute, are the stories true? And if so, who's more powerful?" And Prince Canute just doesn't answer at all.
Has the prince said a word at this point? I don't think he
No,
said
I
anything.
don't believe so.
Prince says nothing. And spoiler alert for this episode, Prince does kind of say something later, kind
So
of.
maybe they couldn't afford a voice actor for this character. He just doesn't speak.
That's one way to save on a budget, right? You know.
he's he's a mute.
Maybe.
Can we talk about the best new character they introduced in this episode?
Here
The
it comes.
priest.
Here it comes.
The priest is by far the best character of these two episodes. All of a sudden, he just starts yelling, "I see Jesus! I see Jesus! And Jesus, your disciple needs you! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Jesus! Help me, Tom Cruise! Get the fire off me! Use your witchcraft to get the fire off me, Tom Cruise!"
See, like this show doesn't do. They don't do a ton of comedy in this show. They do a little bit. This was out of nowhere.
I was very not ready for this character at all. He caught me way off guard.
Ragnar's like, "Ah, shit, he ran out of booze. Someone get him some booze to calm him down."
He just totally loses his mind.
And then Thorkel gives him some booze, and he's like, "Ah, much better." And then Thorkel's like, "All right, priest, which god is better, yours or ours?" And the priest is like, "Whichever one created alcohol."
What an answer. It's so good. He's just like so wasted and he's like, whoever made booze.
Like, I was dying every scene that he was in. And like, even in the background when he wasn't saying anything, I'm like, just look at the priest. He's being hilarious.
He's carrying around his little keg of beer. Refuses to let it go.
The mini keg.
So Thorkel can sense they are being watched and throws a spear to take a scout out. And they're then challenged by Ragnar's army to a fight. And they're like, you know what? Fine. You can. Ragnar's army's like, "Oh, we have 2,000 men and like acting all boastful." And Thorkel's like, "All right, if they're saying how many men they have like 100. Go flank them. Like, it's fine. Like, we can take care of this." And
I thought
like,
that was a really cool assessment, by the way. He's like, oh, they say how much they have. They don't have that many.
and then I just love how Thorkel's like, "All right, fine. We can release the prince and Ragnar. You can have him." And they're like, "What?" It's like, "Oh, yeah, he came to his senses. Cool." And then Thorkel's like, "Fool, you! Gonna challenge you to a fight now." I just love how Thorkel just like kept egging them on, like, "Oh, what's wrong, you cowards? Do you not have any honor? Why are you not attacking us? We stole your prince."
I love the manipulation.
And like he keeps egging them on, and like you could see the people in the army are like, "Oh, we have to fight them. They're calling out. He's calling out our honor." Like, and Ragnar's like, "No, don't fight. It's fine. We're safe. We don't need to fight." And they're like, "No, we have to fight. It's the Viking way."
Thorkel again just reminds me of like from any other anime that takes place in a high school. He's the bully who's been held back a couple years and just wants to beat the crap out of everybody. Whatever reason he can come up with to fight, he's there. He just makes me laugh.
And finally, like halfway through the episode, we finally see Askeladd and his crew. Like up to this point, it's been the Thorkel, Prince Canute, Ragnar show. And Askeladd's like, "All right, time to enact the plan." And he sets the forest on fire to create a smokescreen for their arrival. And remember, kids, only you can prevent forest fires.
They really torched the place.
I mean, we see, and like honestly, when they lit the forest on fire, the fire didn't look that engulfing. Like it looked like there were some branches on fire, but like, and then you see people from both armies being caught on fire. It's like, hold on, it's not like the fire is like out of control.
I think they were also spreading oil,
Okay,
Yeah, they were
if
spreading
memory
oil.
serves.
Yeah.
So that
okay,
that that changes the game a little bit. But isn't
that
it like
makes more.
fall? So you have all like the dying leaves falling from the tree, so like that would burn pretty easy and spread pretty fast.
That's true. I
But
forgot about that.
they were definitely dumping some oil as well to make it worse.
And Bjorn calls dying from being on fire gruesome, and that's not how he would want to die. And I don't blame him.
Nope,
Yeah, I don't blame him either.
I'm with him there.
So then, of course, Askeladd sends Thorfinn to do the dirty work because, you know, another episode of Vinland Saga with Askeladd and Thorfinn. And he's like, all right, go capture Prince Canute. And they douse him in water so he can ride through the fire.
At least they did that for him.
I also really enjoyed seeing Bjorn call Askeladd out. And he's like, look, I know deep down you really trust Thorfinn. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep sending him on these jobs. And like, it feels like Bjorn is the only person who can talk to Askeladd the way he does.
I do kind of
100%.
like Bjorn more and more as the show goes on.
No, he's definitely like you said, he and Askeladd definitely are closer than some of the other characters. Like to Askeladd specifically.
So Prince Ragnar and Prince Canute and everyone is they're walking through the smoke screen. And I love, even during the forest fire, the priest is still carrying his booze around drinking. It's like, yes, just keep showing the priest. Just make this whole episode the priest.
We like the priest.
When Thorfinn showed up to rescue Prince Canute, was I the only one hoping for a cooler looking entrance? Like
Well, I
I
mean,
was
Thor,
expecting him to be like, see, like almost like him and the horse like riding behind, like seeing a silhouette on the flames, and then like him jumping through like a wall of fire.
I feel like if it was maybe Askeladd riding in, he would probably do something like that. But this is Thorfinn. Like he doesn't even want to be here. So his rescue is like half ass.
That's true, but from an animation standpoint, I was expecting a more badass entry.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I wasn't really expecting that myself. I feel like what Thorfinn wrote in on the way he came in, that's Thorfinn. That's his personality. He doesn't want to be here. He just wants to fight and kill Askeladd to revenge for his father, and he's just doing this to get a chance to fight Askeladd. So he's definitely like half-ass in this rescue. He's like, I guess I'll protect the prince if I have to.
But only if you promise to duel me.
Exactly.
Or no, that's later
Shut up and duel me.
in a children's card game.
Absolutely. That's what all duels really are.
After Thorfinn arrives, Thorkel recognizes Thorfinn and starts waving to him like, "Hey, Thorfinn, how's it going? What's new?" And I love how Thorkel is just waving to Adam with the hand that Thorfinn cut the fingers off of and stabbed. It's like, oh, that's such a Thorkel thing to do.
I like this guy more and more.
And the next like breadcrumb of like, or is Thorkel going to be Thorfinn's next mentor? Is laid where Thorkel's like, "Oh yeah, your mother's Helga, right?" And Thorfinn's like, "What? How do you know that?" And Thorkel's like, "Oh, I can't believe Thor's had a child." And even all Thorkel's men are like, "Thor's had a child? What?" And I liked how Thorkel's like, "Oh yeah, your father's the only one who could best me."
I kind of hope that Thorkel becomes the new mentor character for Thorfinn. I think that would be really, really fun.
I
And
also love how. Okay, Sean.
oh yeah, I was gonna say that the I thrown out there after finishing episode it's like 11 and 12. In anime world, usually episode 12 is kind of like a mid-season finale type of deal. You know what I'm saying? Like it's well, in reality, the way anime is done now is episode shows are usually 12 to 13 episodes, right? And then they don't come back for like a year or two if they come back at all. So you figure you get to episode like 12, it's like a mid-season finale. It feels like we might see a pretty big transition here after finishing the episodes. I know we're not done with episode 12 yet, but you're talking about a new mentor character, Turtle, and I think it we it might be time soon to move on from the Askeladd story. We saw Thorfinn take him out, almost take him out at their last duel. It's probably only a matter of time, or depending on how episode 12 ends, we may not even see a duel.
Not to jump into episode 12 too much, but to me, the end of episode 12 felt like a mid season finale. I mean, we can go more in depth once we get to that point, but it had that mid season feel to it.
I agree. And
I love,
also not getting too far ahead. I may have watched like the first 30 seconds of the next episode by accident, because it just rolled to the next episode. I know I cheated,
Spoilers!
Oh my
and
goodness.
and
Everyone's dead.
bo- boy does this seem even more like a mid-season finale type of thing.
Uh-oh. What does that mean?
Well, you'll find
Everyone's
out
dead. The
soon.
show's canceled.
After we record, you could just watch the next episode.
Find out next week, everybody. We got
Find
to
out
finish
next
this week's
time
first.
on Dragon Ball Z.
That's true. I'm jumping ahead. Sorry, guys. I'm just excited. I like the way the episode ended, and I want more.
I love how Thorko just lets Thorfinn take Prince Canute. Like, no fight, no qualms. Just like, yeah, you were able to actually land a hit on me. You can have him as a prize.
I really liked this. Originally, when they introduced Thorkel in the last couple episodes that we watched, I just thought that he was some big dumb brute. This shows that he's got some intelligence and some strategy to him. So I really like this scene. I was like, oh, he's thinking ahead. He has a plan. He's not concerned. He's go ahead, take the prince. It's fine. I'll see you later. And he walks off. I'm like, he's strategizing. This guy he actually has a brain. And I keep liking Thorkel more and more. He's very interesting.
How stupid are Askeladd's men? Like, Thorfinn is returning with Ragnar and Prince Canute, and they start drawing their bows at Thorfinn. And I totally understand not recognizing Thorfinn from a distance, but all we hear is, oh, Prince Canute will be wearing a red cape. Oh, Prince Canute will be in red, yada, yada, yada. You can't see that red from that distance? It wasn't until Thorfinn's like, it's me, Thorfinn, with Prince Canute. They're like, oh yeah, that kid, he's back. And oh yeah, we need the prince to be alive.
I feel like after Thorfinn announced himself, I think they still. I correct me if I'm wrong. I thought they were still animating the archers, still drawing their bows and oh, we better shoot this person. I'm like, he just said who he was.
And now we're back to the best new character, the priest. Ragnar is just ripping into Askeladd like, how stupid can you be? You could have killed the prince with that forest fire. Why did you not do it a different way? And this and this and this. In the background, the priest is just picking his nose. It's like, oh yes, this is serious. But I have a booger, so I'm going to pick that instead.
Yeah, you can tell he doesn't care much about the politics, I feel like.
And the episode ends with Prince Canute removing his helmet, and everyone's just sort of taken aback. And Bjorn's like, Prince Canute looks more like a princess.
Yeah, I was a little I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that's a woman. That is not. No, I say it's anime. They can draw them however they want. I've seen anime characters who look male representing and they're absolutely a female character. And I've seen anime characters who are female representing who absolutely are male characters. It doesn't necessarily matter. But no, it's interesting. I do wonder will Prince or potentially Princess Canute be a future love interest for young Thorfinn?
I was kind of wondering if Prince Canute is actually princess, but because this is the old Viking day and the king doesn't want a daughter, did he just dress his kid up as a boy and just called him prince? Is it actually a female? Is it a male? I don't know. That's what I was thinking. Like maybe that's going to be a twist down the road where it's not prince, it's actually princess.
It very well could be. I mean, who knows?
And now it is time for Mike's Beer of the Week. This week's beer comes to you from Mass Landing, and it is their Gunner's Daughter, a 5.5% ABV milk stout. It has notes of peanut butter, coffee, and dark chocolate. Mass Landing is located in Westbrook, Maine, and the Gunner's Daughter has a 93 score on Beer Advocate. I got this during my monthly board game night that I attend, where we do a beer draft. Not quite every time, but every 3 times, depends on how everyone's beer fridge is looking. We all bring 2 4-packs of beer and we do a draft. And my buddy Bobby was raving about this beer before the draft even started. So I'm like, all right, well, I know what I'm taking with my first pick. and I love this beer. I really love stouts, especially in the winter, but even in the hot days of the summer, I was a huge fan of this. It was amazing from top to bottom. I would definitely, if you're a stout fan, go pick this beer up. If you're not a stout fan, still go pick this beer up because it is just fantastic. One of the best stouts I've ever had, and it's not super high in alcohol either. It's not like you're drinking it and you're getting drunk off it. Like 5.5 is not that bad for alcohol like percentage. Uh, yeah, but fantastic beer. Really enjoyed it. Wish I had another one to drink. We were playing this, or I drank this beer while we were playing After Us, a game I picked up at Gen Con. The untapped average rating for this beer is 4.15, and I give it a 4.5. Episode 12. And here's another episode where the name is different on IMDb than it is to Netflix. And I think this is mainly from translation. So IMDb is The Land on the Far Bank, and Netflix is The Other Side of the Country. So I could totally see this being a who they got to translate the Japanese to English. The episode begins with Askeladd talking to a ferryman, and he asks the ferryman to deliver a message for him. And maybe it was just me, but when he first started talking to the ferryman and he was like talking, I thought he was talking in a code, and I thought the ferryman was working for Askeladd or off the get go, and like pretty much Askeladd was like, "Hey, go get the reinforcements." I mean, it's pretty much what the ferryman did, but he didn't realize what was in the message that he's being asked to deliver.
Yeah, I found that kind of interesting because it seemed like Askeladd clearly he's asking for help, but I guess he knows who he's asking for help. Where the rest of his crew are like, who's gonna come? They have no idea. So Askeladd definitely has some secrets that we don't know about yet.
Yeah, I think that that is accurate. I was gonna say, yeah, this scene was like pretty weird to me because like they're definitely trying to keep a lot under wraps here.
It just felt a little out of place. We've never seen Askeladd do something like this before. Askeladd just every time we see Askeladd do something, he just like it's like, oh yeah, I was planning for this. These people showed up out of the blue. Like it was weird to see like the behind the scenes plan for Askeladd take effect. And then we see Ears using his magical ears to learn that Thorkel is now only a day away, gaining ground on them from the day before when they were 2 days away. I wish I had those hearing powers. Like I have good hearing. Well, decent hearing. I have selective hearing. It's like if you had that hearing, you would never need to buy a concert ticket. Like you could just like
Sit outside.
yeah. Like you wouldn't even have to sit outside like directly outside the stadium. You could be like at the bar and it's like, "Ah, yes, I hear this." But it's also probably a pain in the ass if you're in a loud place. It probably is really hard to hear.
You could also maybe hear something you don't want to hear.
That's true.
So it's there's positive and negative to everything.
Again, we see Bjorn and Askeladd talking, and it was interesting hearing them talk about Prince Canute. Bjorn's like, yo, the men are frustrated. Like, we need to do something. Like, we can't just keep running. We need to, like, rest. And Askeladd's like, no, it's good they're frustrated. Let them be frustrated. That keeps them on their toes.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of travel this episode. I was not as big a fan of this episode as the one before it.
Same. But it was interesting to see another conversation where Bjorn is the one person to talk as an equal to Askeladd. Like I feel like if you got random soldier number 5 telling Askeladd this, Askeladd would probably just chop his head off.
The way I kind of see it is like Bjorn is Askeladd's like, right-hand man, the number one guy. And Askeladd doesn't even tell Bjorn what the plan is. So I feel like Askeladd doesn't really trust anybody and he doesn't tell anybody what his plans are, which is not a great sign of a leader.
I would certainly say not. Yeah. I don't know. Like they keep giving us Askeladd death flags everywhere. I
Yeah, they
mean,
do.
Like
he gives this
it's gonna
speech
happen
about
eventually, right?
yeah. Like last episode, he's like, well, nothing lasts forever. Is he talking like the young guys? He's like, someday you'll get older, and I'll get older, and you'll beat me in a duel, and I'll die. And you're like, dang, man.
I was totally expecting Askeladd to die in one of these 2 episodes.
I was ready for it as well, especially if Thorkel is going to become the new mentor.
Askeladd and his men reach the assembly point, as they call it, where reinforcements, and I use that term very lightly, are waiting for Askeladd. And it turns out it's only 2 men, and even Bjorn is starting to express some doubts in Askeladd at this point. And the 2 men walk out of the fog, and Askeladd kneels to the one. He's like, "Oh, it's a great honor that the commander came to meet us." Which it's like, I mean, Askeladd has always shown respect to like higher ups, whether he likes it or not. But it's like, who the hell is this commander guy? And then we see 3 ships appear from the fog.
Yeah, I was definitely wondering, is like, has Askeladd met this person before? Does he serve this person? Like, is he just bowing for respect?
I was wondering similarly. It seems like there's something in Askeladd's past we just don't know much about.
Maybe that'll come in Vinland Saga 0.
Get a prequel going.
Yeah.
Was that a thing that's happening?
I have no idea. I'm just throwing shit
Wouldn't
against the
surprise
wall. See
me.
what's yeah, true.
Fairy Tale did it. Maybe Vinland
Jujutsu
Saga will too.
Jujutsu Kaisen did it.
Jujutsu Kaisen did it.
Oh, Fate Zero.
Yeah.
They could call it Askeladd Saga.
Vinland Saga Zero, the story of Askeladd's upbringing.
I really hope it's like Askeladd and Bjorn in like a buddy cop movie.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, me too.
So we see Thorkel, and we learn that Askeladd and his men took these boats through the fog to lose Thorkel. And what I found really interesting in this whole segment, in this whole scene, was Thorkel says they lost Thorfinn and the others, not that they lost Askeladd and the others. So is that a respect thing? Is that Thorkel seeing Thorfinn as the real leader, not Askeladd? Like it was just it's like it was that line was in there on purpose.
I feel like Thorkel is kind of like laser focused on Thorfinn, and he doesn't really care about the others. He only cares about Thorfinn.
Oh, he's his war buddy's kid. Thorkel's the only one. I'm sorry. Thorfinn is the only one who's relatively interesting to Thorkel. He doesn't care about anyone else.
That's fair. I mean, he's looking for a good fight, and Thorfinn's given him the best fight so far.
He was interesting, and he's son of the one man who's stronger than him. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely enough to catch his interest.
We learned that Askeladd and his crew sailed to Wales, and all I could think of was Ted Lasso when he's like, "Is that another country in this country? How many countries are in this country?" 4.
I love me some Ted Lasso.
It's the best. Askeladd and crew land in Wales, and the priest gets off the boat, and of course he's chugging more alcohol. It's like, yes, my man. And finally, Prince Canute speaks. He sees a hawk flying in the air, and he tells Ragnar he wants it.
The moment we were all waiting for.
Like, could you pick a more random first line of dialogue?
The big reveal.
It's like, all right, Prince Canute wants a bird. Someone get him it.
I want my bird.
Wasn't like anything like, wasn't like a prayer out loud. Wasn't like talking to Thorfinn or Askeladd or Thorkel. Nope. Bird. I want it.
Said I want my board.
I want my bird. That's my favorite part about that movie. I'm
Iron
sorry.
Man 2.
It's just that for some reason that stuck to me.
No, I'm in the same boat. Like that's one of my favorite. Like it's so random. It feels like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I love it.
We're 14 minutes into the episode, and we finally see Thorfinn. And Askeladd says, all right, Thorfinn, you can act as Prince Canute's bodyguard. And Thorfinn is pissed. Like, that scowl he throws at Prince Canute could freaking kill a baby.
It scared him. He hid behind Ragnar. He's like, "Don't look at me."
And Thorfinn's like, all right, but you know what I want? He's like, and Askeladd's like, yeah, Dole, what? You shut up and do me.
Exactly.
Attention, duelists.
Thorfinn's over there shuffling his Disney Lorcana deck like, "Let's go. I'm taking you down."
Yeah, but what if this show did have card games though? Would it be better or worse?
I mean, we all play children's card games, so we might be biased and say better,
It might be.
Can you
especially if
imagine?
they get banished to the Shadow Realm.
Whoa. Instead of like throwing an axe, they throw a card with a picture of an axe on it.
Everyone turns into Gambit.
Oh, now there's something.
At the end of this episode, it definitely feels like there's been some banishing to the Shadow Realm.
So it is time for me to butcher the shit out of kingdom names, so this is gonna be fun. We learn that the man that Askeladd calls the commander is Gratianus, and he is the general of the kingdom of Morganawig, and he has agreed to guide Askeladd and his men.
I am
Like
from the kingdom of Morgana's wig.
Don't worry, I'm equally as clueless as you, Mike. So I'm
I'm
glad you're saying them and not me.
I'm with
looking
you.
cool, Joker.
I mean, at this point, you should just say them as ridiculous as you can, because like none of us are going to be able to pronounce these properly.
And the only reason Gratianus agrees to this is he says when Prince Canute takes over, I want Wales to just have its freedom, not have to worry about being invaded by England. Let us have our land and live in peace and do whatever the hell we want. And like Askeladd's cool with that, but as we see later down the road, Prince Canute is a little on the fence about it. And now we get more horny time as Askeladd's men are all daydreaming about what they'll end up doing with the reward money they get from King Swain. And the way they were talking felt very much a hey, what would you do if you won the lottery?
Oh my gosh, that's when my wife and I go on road trips, that's one of our favorite like random discussion topics. Is like, what would you do? With $1 billion, right? Like you win the lottery, the most recent Mega Millions, I think it was like over a billion, right?
1.5 something billion dollars.
Yeah, so yeah, you end up with $1 billion. What are you gonna do with that? We love that discussion topic, and what yeah, I was like, dang, they're talking like my wife and I, on the road. Yeah, they're taking a road trip also, and they're talking about what they want to do with their lottery winnings.
What would you do with $1 million? Two chicks at the same time. That's it? Yeah, figure a fellow like me can make that work.
That's a
What about
great
you,
movie.
What about you, Peter? Nothing. Nothing. Shit, Peter, you don't need $1 million to do nothing.
I love that movie.
Oh, it's so
I don't
good.
I don't watch a lot of movies, but that one I've seen it. It's incredible.
Wait, which one's that?
Office Space.
Oh crap! I mean, I've seen that movie, but I don't remember that string of dialogue.
Yeah,
I'm the worst. I'm
Oh
bad at
yeah.
memorizing. I'm bad at remembering lines and stuff.
he's there's his next door neighbors in the apartment next to him. He's like knocking on the wall. Hey Peter, turn on channel 9. It's a breast exam. Absolutely ridiculous movie. It's really funny.
I love that movie.
Speaking of that, by the way, I know it's not quick banter, but it's Mike Judge, like the King of the Hill guy,
Yeah.
who made that. And I'm going through Silicon Valley right now on Max,
Oh man, what a
and
show!
I know, and it ended.
The end of season one.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm on
The
season
the
3, and it's
the
it's
best
so
joke of
good.
all time is in the end of season one.
I haven't seen it yet, so I have to watch it.
The best
The
joke of all.
10-minute dick joke.
Oh my gosh, where they're trying to come up with the new optimization.
Yup.
Oh my gosh, that whole sequence is absolutely hilarious.
Would angle count? Shit, yeah, it would.
The debate is so good. Ah, the show's so funny, and like
Oh,
I'm on season 3, and I'm just like, how much do they have in the tanks? I feel like they've done it all, but there's
it
plenty more for
started
them to
getting
add.
diminishing returns towards the end of it.
That's what I was thinking too. You can only do something like with that concept for so long.
Yeah. Askeladd's men are then talking about all the jewelry and the treasure and the women, and they ask the priest, they're like, "Oh, priest, you've been in the king's castle. What's all there?" He's like, nothing of value." They're like, "Really? No women, no jewelry, no treasure?" He's like, "Yeah, plenty of women, plenty of jewelry, plenty of treasure." They're like, "Well, what more can you need?" And the priest is like, "Love. I'm searching for love." And the men are like, "What the fuck is love?"
That was really funny.
But one of the men actually wanted to hear more about this love thing.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
how they hook you on Christianity.
I wonder if that's actually going to go anywhere. Was it just like a throwaway thing? It's like we get this random guy. He's like, "Oh, tell me more," and they cut away. I'm like, is this guy going to come back? Is he going to get a name? Or are we never going to talk about this again?
I could feel it going somewhere.
Well, Vikings and Christianity have a very long history because number one, Iceland was one of the only countries to ever peacefully convert to Christianity, and as well, in a lot of cases, Vikings were not the best scribes. However, a lot of Christian monks were very good at writing things down. So when you have stories like Beowulf and other things like that, uh, Vikings would give like their account verbally, and these monks would write it down. When the monks wrote it down, there weren't Vikings who could really verify the contents of the story as well. So they'd add like a little bit of they'd sprinkle in there a little bit of Christianity into those Viking stories. At the same time, you would see Vikings kind of start to play both sides. You would see like Christian representation on ships, but you would also see on the for example, on the pommel of the sword, there would still be a dragon, or some symbol of their own gods. So, like the movement of Christianity into the Viking world is a very interesting topic because it's I don't know. I guess I find religion and culture very interesting myself, but it's I know it's not everyone's cup of tea.
So it was interesting seeing Askeladd and Gratianus talk about Prince Canute, and Gratianus is like, "Ugh, we are so screwed if this kid becomes the ruler of the king." And Askeladd's like, I don't know, maybe this is what we need. Like, maybe we don't need someone that like takes to violence right off the get go. And like, he starts having flashback of Thor's on the ship, which was very interesting because it's always been Thorfinn naturally having dreams about Thor's. But like this is our first real look at the just like what how Thor's has changed Askeladd.
Yeah, well, Askeladd's getting soft in his old age. More pillaging. I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting how Thor's died, but you can still see that he had a lot of impact on people, before arriving in Iceland and after his time in Iceland.
His influence touched many. Ears passes a message to Bjorn saying the kingdom of Breishanog plans on double crossing them. And earlier in the episode, we learned that this kingdom will assist Gratianus and Askeladd in safely giving passage to them. And Askeladd and crew stop marching. They learn about the double cross too late as arrows start raining down on them. And this is when the episode starts turning into like that mid-season finale feel because we sort of get like a lot of cuts to various characters that we've been introduced to. We see Thorkel relaxing, he's smiling, knowing that he has a great fight on the horizon. We see King Swain looking bored as hell as his men look to him. And then we see Leif seeing a blonde slave, and he believes it's Thorfinn. And when he realizes it's not Thorfinn, he begins to cry.
Yeah, the reintroduction of Leaf gives you hope that maybe Thorfinn's not that far from going back home, and we're gonna revisit all the characters we kind of met the first few episodes.
Seeing Leif also makes you realize how much time really has passed. I mean, last time we saw Leif, he was looking old, but it's like, oh, he's really aged.
I honestly didn't recognize him at first, and then they do the whole like the blonde slave, and they show him looking, and he realizes it's not Thorfinn. I was like, "Oh, that's Leaf."
Yeah, well, it's interesting what 6 years will do to you. I had a coworker recently. Her family is in Europe, and she said that they hadn't seen them since before COVID, so 2019. So it's been 4 years since they all got together. So they got together, and she's like, "Man, like my like." She saw her in-laws, and she's like, "Man, my in-laws, they look a lot older." She's like, "I know it's like 4 years, but they look like more than 4 years older." But then she said, then again, I bet they looked at us and thought the same thing. Like, wow, they're older now. So it's one of those things where, like, a kid aging 6 years, you're like, yeah, he's older. That's just the natural way of things. But an old man, aging 6 years, it's funny how an old man could look even more like an old man.
What did the two of you think about these episodes?
Episode 11 was very good. There's a lot of action and a lot of intrigue, and there's a lot going on. I want to know what's going on with Askeladd because he's not right in the head. I think he's really contemplating mortality here. I think, and yeah, I want to see where it goes. 12 felt like a mid-season finale. Honestly, I was kind of bored the first half of the episode, but that's fine. They're obviously building to something, so I didn't mind that much. But overall, I like them, and I'm really excited. They left off on a great cliffhanger, so I want to watch the next episode as soon as I can, pretty much.
How about you, Turtle?
Yeah, I definitely I enjoyed episode 11 a lot. We got a pretty good amount of Thorkel, which is always entertaining to watch. And like you said, Sean, episode 12 was kind of on the slower side, but they also showed a lot of, Askeladd, reaching out to people we've never met, and it seems like he knows them. So it makes me wonder, like, are we going to get some more backstory to Askeladd before he sails off to the sunset to end his time in the show? Or was it just, he just sent a letter hoping that somebody would respond? But it definitely seemed like he had met these people before. So there were some interesting things in 12, but definitely didn't really have a lot of action until right at the end where they cut us off, and we don't see the resolution to the archers attacking Askeladd and his crew. We'll see that in the next episode, but they were good. 11 especially I thought was really good, and I'm excited to see 13 to see what happens with Thorfinn.
Yeah, I agree. Really enjoyed episode 11. And not that episode 12 was bad. I think episode 11 was just so damn good that episode 12 felt like a cooldown episode. Stuff happened, but it didn't really feel like a lot of stuff happened. And like it had that mid-season finale feeling. But what's crazy to me is I end up going on IMDb to see like, okay, like did they take like a couple months off between episode 12 and episode 13? Turns, at least on IMDb, it says that episode 12 came out on September 30th, 2019, and episode 13 came out on October 7th, 2019. So there was no break at all between the two episodes.
Very interesting.
Yeah, especially with how that episode 12 ended. And now it is time for the waifu of the week. Turtle, who is your waifu of the week and why?
This week I am going with Thorkel. I picked him last week, and I'm picking him again this week because he's funny, and he's fun to watch when he's on the screen. When he shows up, I don't care about anything else that's going on. I want to see what Thorkel is doing. It's my attention just goes right to him. He's humorous, he's strong, he seems like he's mildly intelligent in this episode, that he's planning things out, and I just want to see more of Thorkel being awesome. And I can't wait for next week's episodes because I want to see more of him. What's he going to do? How is he going to, Askeladd sort of fled. How is Thorkel going to respond? That's what I want to know.
Sean, who is your waifu of the week and why?
I feel like they really did a good job of spreading the love to a lot of different characters. Sometimes you have an episode like the previous on our episode 20 here. It was very obvious that Thorkel was the main feature of those two episodes. But in this episode, like, you got a little bit of Thorfinn, you got a little bit of Thorkel, you got a little bit of Askeladd, you got a little bit of interesting Bjorn stuff. You got the prince, and you got oh crap, the other dude's name, who I've all of a sudden forgotten. The prince's advisor guy.
Oh, Ragnar.
Yeah, geez, Ragnar. Yeah, you got
Ragnar, voiced by
Ragnar.
adult Gohan.
There we go. So I'm like they sprinkled in a lot of different a lot of different characters, and a lot of those characters actually did kind of interesting or cool things. So for me, after all that, I decided my wife of the week is Ear. This guy came in clutch multiple times. He just puts his ear on the ground and he can hear things far away. He can also hear things far away when his ear is not on the ground. It was really hard for me to pick a wife of the week, and the fact that they just named this guy Ear cracked me up. So because I laughed at his name, he gets to be the wife of the week. Yeah, there's no science behind this.
That's okay. That's part of the fun of this segment. And my waifu of the week is the drunk priest. He stole every scene he was in, and every time he was on the screen, I was getting a good laugh. And that's really the only reason I picked him.
Do you need more of a reason?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Hopefully, we will have more priests in the future.
And more Ear.
Judas Priest!
Oh.
I hope he's not a Judas.
Thank you all for joining us this week as we watched Vinland Saga. We hope you join us next week for episode 22 of the Anime Banter podcast, where we will watch episodes 13 and 14 of Vinland Saga. Please give us a 5-star review on all platforms that allow reviews. If you are listening on YouTube, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Turtle, do you have anything you would like to plug?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, RPG Treasure Trove. I sit down with a friend and play an RPG game, couch co-op style. Please check me out and like and subscribe if you enjoy the content.
Sean, do you have anything you would like to plug?
You can find me on the Deepman Files as I normally plug.
The Anime Banter podcast can be found on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. Thank you all for joining us, and we will talk to you next week.